You didn't click on this video by accident. Something inside you is tired. Not tired of doing things, but tired of thinking. Thinking too much. Thinking too fast. Thinking in circles. Your mind has been loud for a long time. And even when the world goes quiet, the noise follows you. So let me ask you something, not a question you need to answer out loud. When was the last time your mind truly rested? Not distracted, not entertained, but rested. Most people live their entire lives inside their thoughts without ever realizing they are not required to believe every one of them. They mistake noise for truth, urgency for importance, fear for wisdom. And slowly, without noticing, their thoughts begin to lead their life. This video is not here to silence your mind. It is not here to control it. And it is not here to make you someone else. It is here to show you something far more powerful. How to step back. How to see clearly. How to stop being pulled in every direction by a mind that was never meant to run your life. If your thoughts have been heavy, if your inner world feels crowded, if you've been searching for clarity but finding more noise, then stay here. Not to learn something new, but to remember something essential. Because the moment you see your thoughts clearly, they lose the power to carry you away. And that is where mastery begins. Part 1. The invisible battlefield. Your life is shaped long before your actions appear. It is shaped in a place no one else can see. Inside your mind. Every single day, thousands of thoughts pass through your consciousness. Most of them go unnoticed. Most of them are not questioned. And yet, they quietly decide how you feel, how you react, and how you live. This is the invisible battlefield. A battlefield where no one else can fight for you. Where victories are silent. And losses often look like exhaustion, self-doubt, or giving up too soon. Many people believe their struggles come from the outside world. From circumstances. From other people. From bad luck or missed opportunities. But more often than not, the real struggle is internal. It is the voice that says, I'm not good enough. The thought that says, what if I fail? The memory that replays a mistake again and again. The fear that imagines the worst before anything even happens. These thoughts feel powerful because they are familiar. They have been repeated so often that they feel like truth. But familiarity does not equal reality. Here is something most people never realize. Your mind is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you safe. And safety, to the mind, often means control, prediction, and caution. That is why it focuses on threats. That is why it remembers pain more vividly than joy. That is why it prefers the known, even if the known makes you miserable. Your thoughts are not enemies. But when left unexamined, they become dictators. You begin to live according to assumptions instead of choices. You react instead of respond. You shrink instead of expand. This is why mastering your thoughts is not about fighting them. It is about awareness. Because the moment you notice a thought, it loses its absolute power over you. The moment you say, this is a thought, not a fact, a small space opens up. And in that space, something remarkable happens. You regain choice. You can choose whether to believe the thought. You can choose whether to follow it. You can choose whether to let it define you. Most people never enter this battlefield consciously. They are dragged into it every day without realizing it exists. But you are different. Because the moment you become aware of your inner world, you stop being a victim of it. And that awareness is the first step toward freedom. Part 2. Why you believe every thought. Most people never question their thoughts. Not because they are lazy, but because they were never taught how. From the moment you were young, thoughts arrived. And you believe them. If you felt afraid, you believed the fear. If you felt inadequate, you believed the story of not being enough. If someone criticized you, the thought became truth. And slowly, without realizing it, a habit was formed. You learned to trust every thought simply because it appeared in your mind. But here is a powerful truth that can change everything. A thought is not a command. A thought is not a prediction. And a thought is not who you are. It is only a suggestion. Yet the mind speaks with confidence. It does not say, "This might be wrong." It says, "This is how it is." That confidence tricks you. Your brain evolved to help you survive, not to help you question itself. So when a thought arises, it feels urgent, important, personal. And because it feels personal, you accept it. Over time, this creates mental autopilot. You wake up and think the same thoughts. You worry about the same things. You doubt yourself in the same ways. You replay the same stories about who you are and what you can or cannot do. And the more often a thought is repeated, the more believable it becomes. Not because it is true, but because it is familiar. This is how beliefs are born. A belief is simply a thought you stop questioning. Think about that for a moment. Many of the limits you feel today did not come from reality. They came from repetition. Someone once doubted you, and the thought stayed. You failed once, and the mind generalized it. You felt fear in the past, and the mind decided it must protect you forever. Your thoughts learned from your experiences, but they never learned when to let go. And so the mind keeps talking long after the lesson is outdated. This is why people live as if the past still controls them, because their thoughts are still speaking from yesterday. But here is the quiet shift that begins mastery. Instead of asking, "Why do I think this?" you begin to ask, "Is this thought helping me?" Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every thought deserves action. Some thoughts are simply old habits passing through. And when you stop treating every thought like truth, something incredible happens. You feel lighter. The mind loses its grip. The urgency softens. The emotional charge begins to fade. You realize that you have been living inside a conversation you never chose to start. And now, you finally have the power to choose whether to continue it. This does not happen overnight. Mastery is not force. It is practice. But the moment you understand that believing every thought is a habit, you realize it can be unlearned. And that realization is where real freedom begins. Part 3. The space between thought and reality. There is a moment most people never notice. A moment so small, so quiet, that it passes unnoticed every day. It is the space between a thought and your reaction to it. A thought appears, and almost instantly emotion follows. Then action. Then consequence. So fast that it feels automatic. So familiar that it feels inevitable. But what if it isn't? What if the power you are looking for does not live inside the thought itself, but in the space right after it? This space is where mastery begins. A thought says, "I can't do this." And before you are aware, your body tightens. Your energy drops. You pull back. But that reaction was not caused by reality. It was caused by belief. Reality did not say you cannot do it. A thought did. When you begin to slow down enough to notice this gap, you realize something profound. Thoughts are events. They arise, and they pass. They are not instructions carved in stone. They are not warnings from the future. They are not definitions of who you are. They are mental weather. Sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, always changing. But most people live as if every thought is an emergency, as if it demands immediate attention and obedience. That is how thoughts gain control. Mastery is not about stopping thoughts from appearing. That would be impossible. Mastery is about learning how to pause. That pause may last only a second, but in that second, you reclaim choice. You can say, "I notice this thought," not, "I am this thought." That simple shift changes everything. Because once you see a thought as something you observe, it can no longer fully control you. You step out of identification. Instead of being inside the thought, you are looking at it. And from that position, clarity grows. You start to see patterns. You notice how certain thoughts appear when you are tired, or stressed, or afraid of change. You notice how the same thoughts repeat before every important step in your life. And slowly you realize these thoughts are not warnings. They are echoes. Echoes of past experiences. Old fears trying to protect you. Outdated stories repeating themselves. When you understand this, the thought loses its authority. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to prove it wrong. You simply allow it to pass. And something remarkable happens. The emotion attached to the thought weakens. The body relaxes. The urgency fades. This is how you stop reacting unconsciously. This is how you move from impulse to intention. You begin to respond, not react. To choose, not obey. To act from awareness, not fear. At first, this space feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because the mind prefers speed. It prefers certainty. It prefers habit. But stay with the pause. Because inside this space lives your freedom. Not the freedom to control every outcome, but the freedom to choose how you show up. And that choice changes the direction of your life. Part 4. When emotions hijack your mind. Most people believe thoughts create emotions. But often, it happens the other way around. An emotion appears first. Quietly. Almost invisibly. And then the mind rushes in to explain it. You feel tension in your chest. Restlessness in your body. A subtle sense of fear or sadness. And immediately the mind asks, why? That question is where the hijacking begins. The mind scans your life for a reason. It pulls memories, imagines futures, creates stories, and suddenly a feeling becomes a narrative. This is why emotions feel so powerful. Because once the mind explains them, they feel justified. Fear becomes something bad is about to happen. Sadness becomes I've failed. Anger becomes I've been wronged. But emotions are not messages about reality. They are signals from the nervous system. They are energy moving through the body. When an emotion arises, it does not ask for belief. It asks for attention. But most people do not give attention. They give interpretation. And interpretation is where suffering grows. You don't feel anxious because your life is falling apart. You feel anxious because your body senses uncertainty. And the mind adds meaning. You don't feel unworthy because it's true. You feel unworthy because an old emotional memory was activated. And the mind repeats an old story. This is how emotions hijack your thoughts. Once the body is activated, the mind becomes defensive. It wants certainty. It wants control. It wants to escape discomfort. So it floods you with thoughts. Worst-case scenarios. Self-criticism. Urgent conclusions. And because the emotion is already present, every thought feels real. This is why trying to think positive rarely works. Because you are arguing with a feeling using logic. The real mastery begins in the body. When an emotion arises, pause. Not to fix it, not to analyze it, but to feel it. Notice where it lives. The tightness, the heaviness, the heat. Breathe into it slowly. When you allow an emotion to exist without story, something unexpected happens. It begins to dissolve. Because emotions are temporary by nature. They move when they are met with awareness. But when they are resisted or explained away, they stay. This is how you break the cycle. You stop asking, what does this mean? And start asking, can I allow this to be here? The moment you do, the mind quiets. Not because you forced it, but because it is no longer needed to defend you. From this place, thoughts lose their emotional fuel. You can see them clearly. You can choose whether to follow them. This is not weakness. This is emotional intelligence, the ability to feel deeply, without being controlled by what you feel. And when you master this, your thoughts no longer rule you. They serve you. Part 5. Escaping the loop of overthinking. Overthinking rarely feels like a problem at first. It feels like responsibility, like intelligence, like trying to figure things out. But overthinking is not clarity. It is the mind stuck in a loop, searching for certainty where none exists. A question appears. What if I make the wrong choice? The mind responds with another question. Then another, and another. Soon, you are no longer thinking. You are spinning. Overthinking happens when the mind believes it must solve life before living it. It believes that if it analyzes enough, plans enough, replays enough scenarios, then pain can be avoided. But life does not work that way. The mind wants guarantees. Life offers experience. And when the mind does not get certainty, it repeats itself. This repetition creates mental noise. You replay conversations that already happened. You imagine outcomes that may never occur. You doubt decisions you have not even made yet. And all of this happens in one place, your head. Overthinking disconnects you from the present moment, from your body, from intuition, from peace. The more you think, the less you feel grounded. The less grounded you feel, the more you think. This is the loop. Breaking it does not require better answers. It requires interruption. The moment you notice you are overthinking, you have already taken the first step out. Awareness breaks the spell. Instead of following the thought, label it. This is overthinking. Not this is me. Not this is reality. Just a pattern. Then shift your attention. Not to another thought, but to something real. Your breath, the weight of your body, the sound around you. Overthinking cannot survive in the present moment because it feeds on imagined futures and rewritten pasts. The present is too quiet for it. At first, the mind will resist. It will say, this is important. You need to figure this out. But ask yourself gently, has overthinking ever given you peace? Or has it only delayed action and drained energy? Clarity comes from engagement, not obsession. Some things can only be understood by moving forward, by trying, by experiencing, not by thinking harder. Trust is built through action, not through endless analysis. The more you act, the less the mind needs to speculate. The more you live, the quieter the noise becomes. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means addressing them from a place of presence. One step at a time. One choice at a time. Overthinking fades when you accept uncertainty. Not as a threat, but as a natural part of being alive. And when you stop trying to control every outcome with your mind, you discover something deeper. You were never meant to live inside your head. You were meant to live your life. Part 6. Training the mind like a muscle. Your mind is not broken. It is untrained. Just like the body, the mind adapts to whatever it practices most. If it practices worry, it becomes excellent at worrying. If it practices self-criticism, it becomes sharp at tearing you down. If it practices fear, it becomes skilled at imagining danger. But here is the truth many people never hear. The mind can be trained. Not through force, not through control, but through consistency. Most people try to change their thoughts by arguing with them. They fight the mind. They criticize themselves for thinking negatively. They demand instant peace. And when that fails, they conclude something is wrong with them. But mastery is not about domination. It is about direction. You do not train a muscle by yelling at it. You train it by using it gently, repeatedly, with patience. The same is true for the mind. Training begins with attention. Where you place your attention, you place your energy. And where energy goes, strength grows. Every time you notice a thought without following it, you are training awareness. Every time you bring your attention back to the present moment, you are strengthening control. These moments may feel small, almost insignificant. But small repetitions create deep change. A single mindful breath may not feel powerful, but 1,000 mindful breaths reshape the mind. This is why daily practice matters. Not long sessions, not perfection, just presence. 5 minutes of conscious awareness each day is more powerful than hours of effort done once a month. Sit quietly. Observe the breath. Notice thoughts come and go. Do not try to stop them. Do not judge them. Just return. Each return is a repetition. Each repetition is training. At first, the mind will wander constantly. That is not failure. That is the exercise. The moment you notice wandering, you are already back. This practice builds something deeper than calm. It builds trust. Trust that you can handle discomfort. Trust that thoughts do not control you. Trust that you can choose where to rest your attention. And slowly, without effort, the mind begins to soften. Not silent, but spacious. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer pull you so deeply. You become less reactive, more grounded, more present. This training does not remove challenges from your life. It changes how you meet them. Instead of panic, there is curiosity. Instead of resistance, there is acceptance. Instead of overwhelm, there is clarity. And perhaps the most important shift of all, you stop trying to fix yourself. You realize you were never broken. You were simply never shown how to use your mind skillfully. Training the mind is an act of self-respect, a quiet commitment to show up for yourself each day. And over time, this commitment transforms the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you live. Part 7. Choosing the voice you live by. There is more than one voice inside your mind. But most people live as if there is only one. The loud one, the critical one. The voice that points out flaws, predicts failure, and reminds you of past mistakes. Over time, this voice begins to feel like you. But it isn't. It is a conditioned voice. A voice shaped by experiences, expectations, and survival patterns. And just because a voice is familiar does not mean it deserves control. Every thought you think is spoken in a tone. Some tones shrink you. Some strengthen you. The voice you choose to listen to becomes the story you live inside. Many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. Harsh, impatient, unforgiving. And then they wonder why motivation fades, why confidence feels fragile, why joy feels distant. Your inner voice matters. It is not about replacing negativity with empty positivity. It is about choosing honesty with compassion. Instead of "I always fail," you learn to say, "I am learning." Instead of "something is wrong with me," you say, "I am human, and this is part of growth." These are not lies. They are perspectives. And perspective shapes experience. Choosing a supportive inner voice does not mean ignoring responsibility. It means meeting responsibility without cruelty. When you make a mistake, you can respond with punishment. Or with curiosity. Punishment creates fear. Curiosity creates growth. The mind learns from how you treat yourself. If every mistake leads to attack, the mind becomes defensive. It avoids risk. It resists change. But when mistakes are met with understanding, the mind relaxes. It becomes open. It becomes willing to try again. This is how resilience is built. Not through pressure, but through trust. You are always narrating your life. Every challenge, every success, every setback. And you have more influence over that narration than you realize. You can choose to be your own enemy or your own ally. That choice does not happen once. It happens moment by moment. Every time you notice the inner voice and soften it, you rewrite a small part of your story. Over time, those small rewrites create a new identity. One built on self-respect, on patience, on strength that does not need to be loud. The most powerful voice in your life is the one that speaks to you when no one else is listening. Choose it wisely, because the voice you live by becomes the life you live. Part 8. Living as the Observer. There comes a moment in this journey when something quietly shifts. You are no longer trying to control your thoughts. You are no longer fighting them. You are no longer running from them. You are watching. This is the deepest form of mastery. To live as the observer is not to disconnect from life. It is to experience life without being consumed by it. Thoughts still arise. Emotions still move through you. Challenges still appear. But something inside you remains steady. You begin to notice that there is a part of you that is always present, always aware, always untouched by the noise. This part does not panic. It does not rush to judge. It does not need to be right. It simply sees. When you live from this place, thoughts lose their power to define you. A thought may say, "This is too much," and you notice it. A fear may appear, and you allow it. A memory may surface, and you let it pass. Nothing needs to be pushed away. Nothing needs to be held on to. You are no longer inside the storm. You are watching the clouds move across the sky. This does not make you passive. It makes you clear. From observation comes wisdom. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of obey. You act from presence, not from habit. This is where freedom lives. Not in controlling what happens, but in choosing how you meet what happens. Life becomes lighter here. Not because it is easier, but because you are no longer carrying unnecessary weight. You stop fighting yourself. You stop believing every thought needs a response. You stop measuring your worth by the noise in your mind. You begin to trust something deeper. Silence. Not empty silence, but alive silence. A quiet awareness beneath everything. From this place, action becomes natural. Decisions become simpler. Fear loses its grip. You realize that peace was never something to be achieved. It was something to be remembered. You were never meant to eliminate thought. You were meant to see through it. And when you do, you discover the truth that changes everything. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. That awareness has been with you your entire life. Waiting patiently, unaffected by success or failure, unshaken by praise or criticism. And the more you live from this awareness, the more life opens. You feel more present, more grounded, more alive. Not because you mastered your thoughts by force, but because you stopped letting them define you. This is what it means to master your thoughts. Not to dominate the mind, but to rest beyond it. Before we end, I want to invite you to pause once more. Not to think, not to analyze, just to notice. Notice that you are here, aware, present. Everything you heard today was not meant to give you something new. It was meant to remind you of something you already have. The ability to observe. The ability to choose. The ability to return to yourself. Your thoughts will continue to come and go. That is not a problem. The difference now is that you no longer have to follow them everywhere they lead. You can pause. You can breathe. You can decide. Mastering your thoughts does not mean life will never be difficult. It means you no longer lose yourself when it is. And that is real strength. Quiet strength. Steady strength. The kind that carries you through storms without needing to shout. As you go back into your day, remember this. You do not need to control your mind. You only need to stop letting it control you. If this video helped you feel calmer, clearer, or more grounded, please take a moment to support the channel. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and stay with us for more videos like this. More moments of stillness. More clarity. More inner strength. Thank you for listening. And most of all, Thank you for choosing to return to yourself. Until next time.